Welcome to M&A Talk, the #1 podcast on all things related to mergers and acquisitions. Brought to you by Morgan and Westfield.
All right, so let's let the fun begin here. I'm curious about the contrast between the hunter and the hunted. What is the biggest difference between the two roles?
I think being the hunter is so much a numbers game because and I'm talking sort of pre-deal, you've got to develop so many different opportunities and you have to talk to so many different potential candidates and suitors that you might find that you spend a lot of time that later on you look back and say, well, met some great people, but it didn't really lead to anything in terms of new business. So there's a good amount of time that's put into activities that may not always yield the end result.
Why so much time?
Because you're going to find that you've got criteria as the hunter, as the buyer, that don't always get met as you continue to peel that onion. And so you're going to have criteria, whether it's the industry that you want to be involved with, whether it's the kind of products, or whether the R&D is solid, whether it's the geographical footprint of the business, the customer concentration. There's all kinds of things that as you kind of look at your acquisition scorecard, which is what we develop, we've got a scoring system that tells us how close of a fit a potential acquisition might be. As you score out that potential deal, it's sort of, you get red lights or green lights, right? And so if you get a red light, you move on to the next one. And so there's a good amount of activity that takes place that continues to cull the herd, as you might say. That's part of the hunter's life.
Is that an iterative process, the scorecard? Do you keep scoring it throughout as the deal progresses? And those numbers change as you peel back the layers of the onion?
You probably take 2 runs at it. You'll take an initial run at it just to see, does it make sense to keep engaging this seller? And so you do a best judgment on your scorecard early on. And then as you go through that non-disclosure process and you start gaining more information, you do a site visit, you meet the principals, you take an in-depth look at the financials, the picture becomes clearer and clearer, and then you'll revisit your scorecard and kind of come up with a final scorecard before you'll issue a letter of intent, most likely. And that letter of intent would then kick off the real diligence.
What on your fund right now and the acquisitions that you're going after, or what's your investment thesis and what is your criteria?
Well, it depends on the business. So I'm involved with a number of different businesses right now as an operating partner, one of which I mentioned I'm acting as the interim CEO. When I think of one particular business, it's a retail-oriented light manufacturer. So we're somewhat vertically integrated where we take pieces and parts and we remanufacture a product that then gets sold in a retail setting. And so what we're looking for as we're seeking opportunities to acquire are potentially other retailers that are maybe like us, that have a footprint in a geography that we don't currently operate. So that would be great to get into some new geographies. We're also looking for potential distributors who have access to a pipeline of products that maybe we aren't carrying at the moment that we could add to our product line. And in some cases, we're also looking for service providers that may offer services, around our retail footprint that could add value and give customers more of a one-stop shop. So any of those kinds of businesses could be candidates for us. And so we've got some very young, smart people who are out there beating the bushes on a daily basis looking for ways to fill the funnel with those kinds of candidates.
So this is essentially, these are tuck-ins or add-ons to the platform company there.
That's right. We closed the platform company about 90 days ago now, and it didn't take us long to spool up, the pipeline, to get the pipeline rolling on potential acquisitions going forward, and those would be considered add-ons or tuck-ins.
For a platform company, is the PE firm's criteria a little more malleable, a little looser?
It depends on the PE firm, I've found. Typically, if you're going to go and create a platform, there's got to be a critical mass, right? So it's got to have enough size to where you're inheriting a very good management team. Potentially, you're inheriting very good product or service. You've got a good geographical presence. You don't have that high customer concentration on any one customer or small group of customers. So you're looking for something that literally, as the name would indicate, that you can build on top of. And so the platform is usually you scrutinize the team and the margins and all that kind of thing pretty strongly when you're looking for platforms. When you start shopping for your add-ons or your tuck-ins, sometimes you're a little more forgiving on those matters because you know that you've already got a strong platform that could absorb and maybe help you overcome some of the deficiencies that the add-ons might have. And as such, you would potentially pay less in terms of multiple for an add-on because of, some of those warts that may be there that you need to overcome that maybe you wouldn't want to attempt to overcome with a platform.
M&A Talk is brought to you by Morgan & Westfield, a nationwide leader in mergers and acquisitions for small to mid-market companies. If you've enjoyed this show, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Learn more at morganandwestfield.com. While we take reasonable care to select recognized experts for our podcast, please note that each podcast presents the independent opinions of such experts only, and not of Morgan & Westfield. We make no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information provided. Any reliance on the podcast information is at your own risk. The podcast is for general information only and cannot be considered legal or professional advice.